please enough.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. This meeting will be followed by a briefing session for the meeting scheduled to be held on the 18th of March. We're going to begin our program here with an invocation from Pastor Mark Key from Mount Tabor United Methodist Church in Winston-Salem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Ted Kaplan. Please stand if you can, and Pastor Key, you may begin at your leisure.
Thank you very much. May we pray. Oh God, we pray to you asking for your abiding presence. Come and bless this meeting today. Guide all the discussions, debates, and decisions that need to be made. Give wisdom and wise counsel to your faithful servants, our commissioners, and other elected and appointed leaders and staff. Thank you for their service to our county and our community. We ask your blessings on those who continue to struggle economically and those in need of employment. We pray for the equitable and quick distribution of the vaccines and for an end to the spread of the coronavirus. We pray for all our county personnel, men and women in uniform, healthcare professionals, and essential workers. We pray for your blessing, that we would continue to be a thriving place to live. May you be pleased in all that we say and do. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those who may not have had the opportunity to come to this meeting, it is being televised on cable channel 13. We will have a public hearing in just a few moments. It probably will be about 20 minutes from now. This public session will be giving all of those who are watching on Channel 13 the opportunity to give us a call and tell us what you think are the problems, needs, and interests related to your thoughts regarding the Forsyth County Commissioner's agenda. We're going to give you a telephone number, and I'll repeat this twice. You can write it down. The first number is 336-422-1200. When you call that number, you will be placed on hold until the public session begins. And as I say, that will happen in just a few moments. Once again, I will repeat the telephone number. And if you feel as though there's a problem or need or interest that could improve the life and well-being of the citizens of Forsyth County, just dial the number and you'll have at least 3 minutes to talk. The telephone number is 336-422-1200. The clerk to the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, Ashley Sloop, will take those calls when they come in. We'll begin with Joshua Swift, the Forsyth County Public Health Director, who will give a COVID-19 update, and it's good to have you with us. I had somebody asked to say just before we started this, Mr. Swift, can you still get tested for the virus? And I said, I'm not sure where or when or how, but if you have the opportunity, and I hope you'll take that opportunity, you might tell this individual. Mr. Swift, you're on.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. Yes, testing is still available. You can go to our website, forsyth.cc COVID update, and get that information. We have testing available at the EMS Triangle Station 1 day a week, and then Saturdays at the fairgrounds as well.
Good.
So yeah, testing is still available, as well as other locations throughout the county, and you can get a link through our website or Facebook page to find out. So I will pull up my presentation, and excuse me.
There you go. By the way, while we're waiting for you, I might mention that I have heard Dolly Parton sing her version of the vaccine song, which is, instead of Jolene, Jolene, it's vaccine, vaccine, Fleming.
So, all right, I hope you can see the presentation.
All right, sir.
Yes. So, just a disclaimer, the state's dashboard is currently down, but these are the numbers from 3/2, so these are pretty recent information as far as our total cases. Our total cases in Forsyth County through the 2nd is 31,913, but the number we really like to focus on is this last 14 days. So in the last 14 days, we've had 1,296 cases. So this is down drastically from where we were at the end of 2020, and we're at 92 cases per day. That's our average cases per day, and our total death count so far is 345 deaths since the beginning. This next slide shows the number of hospitalizations. This is residents who are hospitalized, Forsyth County residents who are hospitalized in Forsyth County hospitals. And you can see the number is staying fairly steady in the 60s and now just a little bit over 70 at 73 persons. Next is just another graphic that shows our deaths over time. And you can see since the end of October when we had 121 deaths, now we have 345. But you can see it's been pretty steady week over week, the number of deaths. And obviously it's disproportionately in individuals 65 and older. Next, vaccine, something we're all interested in hearing about. The Forsyth County Department of Public Health, since December 22nd, when we got our first shipment of vaccine, has administered 38,970 doses of vaccine. You can see the number of first doses and the number of second doses that have been administered. Many of you have been through the fairgrounds or gotten your vaccine at the health department. Then since we shifted to the fairgrounds in late January, it is a large operation, over 100 staff and volunteers. I appreciate, all the staff that are working 12-hour days out there. We open at 8:30, and our last appointment is at 6, but there's a lot of time before that and a lot of time after that. So we appreciate that, appreciate the other departments that have chipped in and helped us out. So it's been a team effort. Some other statistics here is just Forsyth County's vaccine distribution. So this is just a way to show when you look at first doses, this is for Forsyth County residents. They could have got their vaccine with the health department, with Novant, with Baptist. They could have went outside the county to get their vaccine. But when you look at the state system, again, this is a 2 days old. As of March the 2nd, percent of the population has been vaccinated. 8.5% of African Americans in Forsyth County have received a first dose. It is up considerably from last week. 15% of white individuals in Forsyth County have gotten their first dose, and almost 3.5% of Hispanic individuals who are Forsyth County residents have gotten their first dose. Then when you look at the age bracket, when you look at the 65 to 74 years of age, you can see we're almost at 50% of individuals have gotten the first dose, and over 50% of 75 and older individuals that are Forsyth County residents have gotten their first dose. Overall, almost 14% of Forsyth County residents have received a first dose, and you can see that number, over 52,000 first doses have been administered to Forsyth County residents. Next, you can see the groupings. This is from the state. We are currently in Group 3, frontline essential workers. This was going to be opened up on March 10th. The governor this week opened it up on March 3rd. So we are starting to focus on that area. We had already started our focus with private and public schools and child care workers. And this is just a natural progression as we go into frontline essential workers as of March 3rd. And then on the next slide, you can see that on March 24th, the state will open up to those in Group 4. So another thing regarding the vaccine that we're excited to hear about is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It's one shot. It does not require diluent or mixing. It can be refrigerated. It doesn't have to be in an ultra-low cold freezer like Pfizer. Easily shipped, stored, and administered. And excited because it gives us more opportunities to increase the number of vaccination sites and to make it more convenient into the community. And really, the biggest thing is that one shot, where you don't have to worry about scheduling a second shot, so it's one time. So those are some of the things we're working on. You probably saw a release earlier in the week that we received 9,000 doses in partnership with Novant and Baptist. So we're very excited about that and working on plans for distribution in the community. So that's my presentation. Be happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions or comments for Mr. Swift?
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Thank you again, Joshua, for the detailed report. I got a call from a constituent who talked about her immune system being compromised and wanted to know if she would be safe for her to take the vaccination. And since I don't have a medical degree, I told her to check back with the doctor. But have you gotten any responses from people concerned about their immune systems being compromised and whether or not it's okay for them to take the vaccination?
Well, we have had calls from people that were maybe on a certain prescription medicine that they'd been prescribed and they were concerned. So what we always tell people is to talk to their medical provider to get that input.
Okay. And I want to compliment the team for being at Mount Zion Church. I went by there, and the people are really appreciative of that. And any kind of effort in the community is greatly appreciated because it's specifically focused for those parts of our community that sometimes don't always pay full attention to. So thank you very much for that teamwork, Joshua.
Thank you. I appreciate our clinic director, Edwin Marshall, Ms. Robinson, and the team that was out there. And I got to drop by myself, and it was very well attended, and it was a great effort. And more to come. More of the same is coming. So very excited about that outreach.
Additional questions or comments?
Additional comments, Chairman. I just wanted to say, Joshua, yes, I would ditto what Commissioner Fleming has already said, Elamine has said as well. I appreciate the continued work that's going on in the minority, brown and black communities regarding the vaccination and access. And I'm looking forward to continuing to see the increase in terms of access to that. So thank you. You've done a great job.
Thank you. It's the team that's working hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report, Mr. Swift.
Chairman, I have one question.
Yes, go right ahead. Commissioner Martin.
Joshua, I'll add my thanks to Commissioner Fleming, Elamines, and Tanya McDaniel's comments. But the question I have for you is, what about the number of vaccines that we're going to continue to receive of the Moderna and Pfizer? I mean, is that slowing up, or are we going to get about the same number? And what can we maybe expect, say, for next week? I mean, we're getting up into the, we've been hovering in the 3,000, 4,000 kind of 2,000, 4,000. Are we going to ramp up to where we can be about 5 days, 6 days a week and really make some progress, a really big dent in our number of vaccinations?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Dr. Martin. So really, this week we were fortunate. We received 2,400 doses from a county that couldn't use them. That was a call we received last Wednesday before last, excuse me, and we were able to go get those vaccines last Thursday. So we were able to get that. We were able to get some transfer from some extra doses locally, but just a few hundred. So we had that, but normally our allocation for the next 2 weeks is going to be around, of Moderna and Pfizer, 1,500 doses. So still not enough. We were fortunate to have a pool of about 4,000 for this week because of transfer from another county and some extras that we received. So, and what we're being told with this Johnson & Johnson is to expect that the state's getting this large shipment. We're going to get 9,000 to Forsyth County, but it could be 3 to 4 weeks before we get another shipment of Johnson & Johnson. I think it really will be probably April before we see a large amount of more vaccine. Another thing that's come up in a few weeks, next week, there's supposed to be, FEMA is opening a site in Guilford County. I'm sure several of you saw a press release in Greensboro. So we're curious to see how that goes, and they have reached out to neighboring counties to look at there's possible possible that we could get some more allocation from those that FEMA site they're looking at. They're calling it a hub and spoke method, where we would be the spoke from the hub in Guilford.
Additional questions, comments? Thank you, Joshua Swift, Public Health Director for Forsyth County. Appreciate it. We're up to date. Keep up the good work. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the meeting of February 23rd, 2021. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming Elamine, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Don Martin. Discussion? Next item on the agenda comes after we answer this question. All in favor, yes? Aye? All opposed, no? Let's try that again. All in favor, say
Are
aye.
we approving the minutes? I'm just.
The minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought this was a special thing for you, that's the reason.
I'm sorry, I kind of,
That's all right, that happens in the best of families. Do we have a motion to approve or disapprove?
we've done that.
We did?
I second it. We're ready to vote.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry about that.
That's good, that's good. Next item on the agenda is the public session, which we mentioned earlier. And Ashley Sloop, the clerk to the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, is standing by. Do we have any calls today?
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 calls.
Good. It's all yours. While Mrs. Sloop is doing this,
You are now available.
remind you that we have 3 minutes limitation on your conversation.
Thank you for calling the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners public session. This session is for comments only and questions cannot be answered. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gladys Christian, and I'm here in Forsyth County.
What is your address, ma'am?
3826 Country Club Road, Apartment I, Winston-Salem, NC 27104.
Thank you. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each, and a 30-second warning will be given. You may begin.
I would like to give greetings to our Board of County Commissioners and everyone in their respective places. Again, my name is Gladys Christian, and I'm a member of our Triad Consumer and Family Advisory. Also, I'm a member of the Disability Rights of North Carolina, and also a member of the Board of Directors of Horizons Residential Care Center here in Forsyth County. I'm on behalf of the community and our assignment with the Triad Consumer and Family Advisory Committee. We are identifying gaps in mental health, substance abuse, disability services. And my charge today is I would like to express from a peer perspective, because I'm a peer support specialist and I have 10 years working in mental health. I'm retired now, but I'm connected to the committees. And with what's going on now in reference to Cardinal Innovations Healthcare, through my experiences, I have seen many consumers, mental health recipients. Every time that there has been a change, it's always been very difficult for individuals, because once they get used to a provider and their local management entity / MCO, relationships are built and they become confident, because it's very hard for people to open up. And I have worked with individuals from the mental state hospital on one-on-one in the community. Also, I'm retired from Centerpoint Human Services. And with my experiences of training approximately 400 people in North Carolina through peer support specialist training and also wellness recovery action plan. And I have heard many stories, and it's very difficult with all these different changes. And as far as Cardinal Innovations Healthcare is concerned, there's some people that have that confidence. We don't say all, but there are some, that have that confidence. And my heart is saying, that I wish that they could stay I was on a meeting this morning with the Provider Council.
You have 30
and
seconds.
Various providers have expressed their concerns. So Cardinal Innovations is right now is on board, and they're going to make some changes. And it was very hopeful on that meeting today. And that'll be the end of what I have to say at this point.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you.
You are now available. Thank you.
Will you please turn your volume down? Thank you for calling the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners public session line. This session is for comments only, and questions cannot be answered. Please state your name and address for the record. Hello? Hello? Is anyone on the line?
She's very busy.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to...
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
She's listening to the television set. I might suggest that she quit listening to that and answer your questions. Now let's see if it works.
Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, I'm going to hang up and you can call back.
Okay, we'll go to our next.
You are now available. Thank you.
Thank you for calling the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners public session line. The session is for comments only and questions cannot be answered. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Terry Cox. I live at 210 Ashton Place Circle here in Winston-Salem.
Thank you. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each, and a 30-second warning will be given. You may begin.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name is Terry Cox. I am a member of the Triad Consumer and Family Advisory Committee. I'm also a member of the Cardinal Board of Directors, and I'd like to start out by, first of all, thanking our county commissioners for the decisions, many tough decisions that they have to make. That's not always easy, and I know it's often met with scrutiny and criticism, but I know that the decisions that you make are for the best for our county, for our Forsyth County citizens. I'd also like to thank our county government team. I know that Dudley and Chantel and Damon work very hard in gathering information and getting data, and it gives us Cardinal Innovations an opportunity to grow and learn. And so I'm very thankful that you allow me to speak. I'd like to start out just by making a request of the county commissioners that I know that the issue of disengagement is at hand, and I think that right now, I don't think if you have a full picture of what is of a decision that you're about to make. And I would like for you not to disregard the information or put it aside, but I would like for you to just put a hold on it. If we could just tap the brakes a little bit and let us pull back and look at this a little bit closer. I was fortunate enough to work with the Surrey County Opioid Task Force last year. And in working with that team up there in Surrey County and the partners catchment area, I noticed some missed opportunities, especially with housing. And it made me concerned. And then when I heard of the disengagement opportunity, it made me more concerned. And so I think that, don't get me wrong, Partners is a good NCO, and there are some
You have 30 seconds.
awesome folks who work at Partners. But I think that right now, with the Medicaid transformation in process, I would just like for you to consider just putting a hold on this so we can look at it a little bit closer. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Did caller number 2 call back?
Mr. Chairman.
Did not. All right, Mr. Manager, will you continue with the remainder of the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, board members and staff and guests. We do have some business items for consideration this afternoon. We have reviewed these in briefing sessions and hopefully answered any questions as we've gone through that process to get them in front of you today. So I'll go ahead and dive into the agenda. Item 3 is a resolution approving a second revision to the fiscal year 2021 Home and Community Care Block Grant County Funding Plan for older adults and authorizing execution of the necessary documents to submit the revised plan for state approval. There was essentially a release of $72,818 that's been reallocated to several other programs. And then part of that is really a reclassification of funds allocated to WISTA of $93,289 from general to medical transportation.
Questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Elamine. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 4 is a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the State Library of North Carolina to apply for and accept, if awarded, a library services and technology project grant. It would fund implementation of radio frequency identification at the Carver School Road branch, the Rural Hall branch, and Malloy Jordan East Winston Heritage Center. The amount would be, of the grant would be $69,669.
Questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming Elamine.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Don Martin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item 5 is a resolution to accept 2020 Help America Vote Act, or HAVA funds, from the North Carolina State Board of Elections for election administration of the 2020 federal elections. There's an amendment to the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget that would add additional $150,000 to basically fund the same eligible expenses that the county incurred.
Questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming Elamine.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tanya McDaniel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, agenda item 6 is an amendment to the 2020 Forsyth Technical Community College Capital Maintenance 2/3 Bond Capital Projects Ordinance. Since we are getting ready to issue this debt, we wanted to bring to you the projects that would be paid for with that. It's a $2.3 million project. $500,000 is for technology infrastructure on the campuses. $1.6 million for the heating and air conditioning improvements at Hoosier Hall, and $200,000 for the chiller replacement at the Ardmore facility.
Questions or comments?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Don Martin.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fleming Elamine. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item 7 is a resolution awarding a contract for chiller replacement at Piedmont Propulsion Systems at the airport. Competitively bid that. Superior Mechanical Systems was the lowest responsible bidder at $502,500, and it is under budget.
Questions or comments? Motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Ted Kaplan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Don Martin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item 8 is a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase of Dodge Durango police pursuit vehicles for use by the Emergency Services Department as paramedic quick response vehicles. The agenda item that we originally had and management recommendation was for 3 vehicles with the larger engines at $33,508 apiece. This agenda item, based on the comments, was modified so that the 3 vehicles that you'd be voting for are V6 vehicles at $30,902 each. And you've got the associated budget ordinance amendment that prompts a transfer into that mobile equipment replacement capital projects ordinance. So just to be clear on which one, because I know there is some interest at the original recommendation.
Questions or comments?
So this resolution that we are looking at is the staff management recommendation?
So the resolution that's in front of you is the modification to that would approve the purchase of the V6s. If you wanted us to go back to the original management recommendation, just note that.
I would make a motion that we go to the original recommendation made by our staff.
Do we have a second from Mrs. Wizenhut's motion?
I'll second.
Motion seconded by Commissioner Richard Linville. Comments? If not, all in favor of Ms.
I'd like to make
Go right ahead,
one
sir.
comment. Actually, because I'm the one that suggested the 6.5, the 3.5 liter engines. I think it's at least worth it. I know there's some difference of opinion on this. I've talked to Dudley some too, but I would be satisfied if we could at least experiment with one of those vehicles as a 3.5 liter engine and compare it to the other two 5.7. I mean, I just don't think there's any difference whatsoever, and I don't think anyone is being jeopardized in any way or any kind of problems. And we do have a priority about energy conservation, and there is a significant difference in the energy efficiency with a 5.7 liter engine. I just think we ought to be looking at some other options that are out there, and I think that is one. This vehicle, as I recall, has all the extra brake stuff and all the added kind of the only difference between the two is basically a 3.5 liter engine and a 5.7 liter engine. And I'm probably satisfied with experimenting with one, and I'd ask Ms. Wizenhut if she would amend her motion to that effect.
Well, to me, it's emergency. I mean, this is not Parks and Recreation, and not to be disrespectful to them in any way. But these vehicles are in service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I just don't see that we need to be experimenting with emergency vehicles.
Well, I do have one other question. Maybe I'll just simply ask. It is my understanding, and I realize I stand to be corrected on the mobile integration, purposes, and its success has not been in doing the work of ambulances. That is not its primary function. I'd be happy to have that corrected, but it obviously doesn't allow a stretcher to be applied and to have someone with a heart attack being transported to the hospital. Now, I'm sure there are times at which they do have lights and sirens, and they do, run at higher speeds, but basically we're dealing with a town, city, and country roads, and I just think we have basically a 3.5 liter engine would be more than adequate. But I stand to be corrected and be happy for the manager to comment on that.
So, I think you're correct that the vehicles, they are not they're not a primary high-speed vehicle, but they do go lights and sirens to a number of calls. And so this is one of those areas where, from a staff perspective, we're certainly willing to try. If the board's wishes, we could try the smaller engine, see where it is. What we weren't able to find is really much experience out there around that. And so, this is one of those things that we'll go in whatever direction the board wants. Management direction stands, but or management.
I guess the only comment I'd say to that, Dudley, is that there's no one else that I know of that has a program like the mobile integration. There may be some others, but there's certainly not very many. And as I asked you earlier, you can't tell me what performance engine size we have in the vehicles that we assign to them out of spare. So I just don't think it's been, I think it's worth that experimentation for this particular use. And if Ms. Wizenhut's not willing to amend her motion, we can vote on her motion and see.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, Mr.
Della, could you remind me of the difference in costs between the manager's recommendation and this recommendation?
Sure. So the 8-cylinder vehicle's $33,508, and the V6 is $30,902.
And the fuel efficiency is a minimum 4 miles a gallon rated on
4 miles.
on the in-towns, 14 versus 18.
Yeah, I did sort of the back of a napkin. It looks like it's about $5,000 in life cycle cost savings, because you pick up a couple thousand from the purchase of the vehicle, you pick up a couple thousand on the lower, the better fuel mileage. The question really is, which I don't think anybody, we looked, I don't think anybody really knows, is, because the vehicles are idled a lot, and so, they're sitting there running, just a lot of the time. But when they're on the call, they normally don't cut the vehicle off. If it's nighttime, because you want to keep the lights, the battery charged up and everything, you don't do that. And it's got a lot of electronics in it that you're charging when you talk about the router and all the other equipment in it. So, the question really is, and I don't think we know, is that, to what extent are we going to have mechanical issues? I don't think the transmission won't be any different. I don't think the brakes, we're going to have the same sort of characteristics around those, because it is the heavier duty brakes, heavier duty transmission, which makes the vehicle weight more. So this is just one of those arenas that you.
May I ask manager a question?
Sure.
Do we have one of those vehicles now, operating now?
I am sure we do. Yes.
Is there one, if we postpone this, could it be brought here next Thursday so we could look at it?
Sure.
I mean, I haven't seen,
I don't know that we've got them in EMS or not, but I know the Sheriff's Department has some that are patrol Durangos.
and see what this is all about, that'd be great.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, if it's okay, to postpone this till we next meet, put in the next series, so we get a chance to look and see at these vehicles. I've never seen one of these. I've seen the ambulances, but I haven't seen this one.
I like the name Durango. Mrs. Wizenhunt, your
I
reaction?
would be willing to wait until next week, or to the next meeting.
So Mrs. Wizenhunt has withdrawn. Is that all right with you, Mr. Linville, second? And everything's all right?
Well, if you're making a motion to table, I would second your motion to table.
Okay. Then we'll vote for the tabling, and then we'll come back next week and talk about it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Wizenhunt. Very diplomatic. Appreciate everything.
All right.
All right.
Agenda item 9 is a resolution selecting an architectural firm and authorizing execution of a contract to provide professional architectural and engineering services for the Tanglewood Clubhouse project. They went through a qualifications-based process as the statute requires to, and the recommendation is to hire Stitch Design Group to do that project in an amount not to exceed $450,000.
Questions or comments?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Gloria Wizenhunt. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tanya McDaniel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 10 is a resolution ratifying and authorizing execution of an interlocal agreement between Forsyth County on behalf of the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office and Davidson County for the provision of digital forensic services. Amount would appropriate not to exceed $3,000 for the year. It's $100 each to analyze the electronic devices. And it's basically a forensic tool for investigations. The sheriff is going this path rather than buying his own piece of equipment. So,
Questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming Elamine.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tanya McDaniel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 11 is a resolution approving the disengagement plan from Cardinal Innovations Healthcare and authorizing the county manager to solicit public comment on such plan and to continue the process for disengaging from Cardinal's Innovation and realigning with Partners Behavioral Health Management. Essentially, the title described it. It essentially directs us to proceed with that formal disengagement process.
Commissioners, I have asked the Chief Executive Officer of Cardinal if he could be with us today to at least talk a little bit about it, primarily because we did have the Partners Chief Executive last week, and I'm giving him an equal opportunity. But before we hear from Mr. Sutton, I'd like to ask our county attorney if he would once again go over the rules and regulations, because we will vote on this at the conclusion of the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you're considering today is the disengagement plan. and that is a culmination of work that staff has done following this board's resolution to begin the disengagement process and to provide notice to the Secretary of DHHS, which you did back in November. If you approve the disengagement plan, there are a number of steps that will follow, but the first will be that there'll be public comments will be accepted for 60 days, and then those comments will be posted for another 30 days. The county would come up with different plans that they need to do, and then as of July, in June and July, the formal request would be submitted to the secretary to actually disengage. And so that would be the final process that this board would take. The secretary would then have up to 90 days to approve or deny that request to disengage and engage with partners. So that's what the general process is, but this is a process that takes a long time.
This process could end sometime in January or February of next year, is that correct?
Well, it should by October, it should be determined, October of this year.
Mr. Trey Sutton, Chief Executive for Cardinal, appreciate you driving up from Charlotte today, and you might want to introduce that fine young lady that came with you and explain your side and what you seem to think that we need to do from your perspective.
Yeah, thank you. I've got with me today Jessica Moore. She's the head of our care coordination group for intellectual and developmental disabilities. So, Chairman Plyler, Vice Chair, Commissioners, I appreciate the time today that you're affording me to talk to you. I also want to thank the folks that were on the line that shared their comment and their perspective, and those that have made calls and sent emails to the commissioners and others in this community. I do appreciate it. Some of those individuals include Dennis Lynch, Mary Anicelli, Tim Flavin, Bill Donahue, and others. Cardinal Innovations is making real progress, measurable progress against objective things that have been brought to our attention by the county. We're moving the ball down the field, and people are beginning to feel it. Today, I don't want to share graphs or metrics with you. Today, I want to lift up some stories of the members that we serve and amplify their voices. To help me do that, I've asked Jessica here today to share some of those stories in a brief fashion. Jessica?
Thank you, Trey. Good afternoon, and thank you all for having me here today and for allowing the opportunity for us to speak a few words before you. As Trey mentioned, my name is Jessica Moore, and I oversee IDD care coordination operations at Cardinal, which includes a team of over 30 individuals who support approximately 500 members in Forsyth County. I've been with Cardinal now for almost 14 years, and I have seen firsthand the effects of change on our members over time. For those of you who may not be as familiar with the IDD population, it is comprised of some of the most vulnerable individuals in the Medicaid population, people who require support and who rely on services to manage conditions such as Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injuries, and others. These are people for whom there is no recovery, but who will most likely require some degree of support for the rest of their lives, for whom the goal is to ensure their quality of life, to maintain skills that they've acquired, and to acquire new skills. Another area of critical importance for this population is advocacy. This is a population that often goes unheard. It's important that they're integrated into their communities to the degree that they desire, and it's also important that they develop relationships. And for many of our members and our families within the IDD community, the relationship that they have with their care coordinator is a key element in determining how they will be able to navigate what can be a very complicated service system. These are relationships that in many cases have taken years and years to establish with these members. Care coordinators are often their voice. We are their anchor. We keep them calm during what can feel like very chaotic moments for them. They call on us when they celebrate graduations, when they celebrate securing dream jobs, and they also call on us to mourn losses. We are very much a part of their families. Right now, my care coordination team, my team that supports the intellectual and developmental disability population is very concerned. They are asking me what is going to happen to our members. You know, what about Carlos, whose brother just died? What about Abigail, whose mom is happy with her daughter's services? What about David, who's asked to never take Dawn, his care coordinator, away from him? My team is also very much concerned about the timing of this potential transition. We are, as you all know, in a pandemic, in a time during which our ability to meet people face-to-face where they are, to have physical interaction, is extremely limited. At Cardinal, we have been able to successfully manage this new environment, primarily because of the long-standing relationships that we have established with our members already. Transitioning to a new care coordinator that our members are unable to engage with face-to-face, to interact with, to have that human connection with, is likely going to be incredibly challenging. And all of this when Medicaid transformation is taking place in our state, and that alone will have a massive impact on how we support members. The challenges associated with transitioning from one care coordinator to another care coordinator simply within our organization already gives us pause, and it's not something that we take very lightly. That concern is only magnified when you consider what has to happen to transition from one organization to another organization. Another organization with another set of processes, procedures, and a particular concern is our Spanish-speaking population. They rely today on bilingual Cardinal care coordinators to share with them and to inform them of changes that are happening that are going to impact them. The language barrier often makes it difficult for these families to understand what's going on and impacts them and their behavioral health services. And there is a risk that they'll also have a higher degree of difficulty experiencing this change if they have to also be assigned to another care coordinator who may or may not be bilingual without being able to advocate for themselves and what they feel is in their best interest. We all know that counties realigning with different organizations is not a new practice. Centerpoint and Cardinal were able to do so successfully back in 2016, and I was a part of that transition. What's important to note is that there was a mutual agreement between both organizations that the action that was taking place was in the best interest of all of the members being supported, not just some. The hiring of all Centerpoint care coordinators represented a blending of values, of goals, and of our commitment, which were all necessary to ensure a seamless transition for the care of our members. Not only did their care coordinator remain the same, but the utilization management team that was familiar with the authorization of their services remained the same. That prevented them from having to reestablish themselves with an entirely new team. And it's really important that we recognize that that will not be the case in this particular instance. I hope that the information and the perspective that I've been able to share with you this afternoon will be helpful as you make your decision, that you'll consider the impact of your decision on this very vulnerable population. And again, I very much appreciate having the opportunity to share. Thank you again, Trey.
Could I ask you one question?
Yes.
The question I want to ask, really, since you mentioned particularly the IDD population, which is one of great concern, and I'm certain that there are many wonderful relationships between caregivers, et cetera. But the sort of the largest complaints that I hear from the IDD population has to do with gaps in service providers where X number of hours are authorized a week to help the IDD, patient, client, receive services. And there are many, and I realize this is a statewide problem. There are many gaps. There are lots of trouble with finding people to work, et cetera, et cetera. The question I have for you is, tell me what Cardinal has done to improve that gap prevention issue that continues to go on and linger. What have you all been able to make? What kind of difference what are you doing about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. You are correct in that something that we hear a lot as far as being a challenge for our IDD members is having adequate access to their services that have been authorized. We have been working very closely with the providers within our network to identify where those issues are, what struggles they may be having with recruitment of staff. We've partnered with them to assist with training. We've taken a look at our rate structures where we're able to offer providers additional funding to try to support the direct support professional workforce, because as you mentioned, it's not an issue that's specific to Cardinal Innovations. It's a systemic issue. We are currently looking at implementation of systems that will help us to better identify when individuals don't receive the services that they're authorized for in real time so that we can be more proactive in addressing those issues. I don't know if you want to add.
Chairman,
A lot of process, not much success, but thank you.
are you still taking comments?
Yes, ma'am, go right
Okay,
ahead.
fair enough. I wanted to say congratulations to you on your 14 years at Cardinal. Listening to your presentation today, I'm reminded that you and I stand looking the same because we represent the marginalized Black and brown communities that Cardinal currently serves. With that, you talked about having a voice, and I want you to know that I am the voice as well for our community. And I will just say that with all of the issues that have transpired over this time and listening to the stories of our county managers and assistant managers, I believe that and I want the constituency to also know that I am assuring them that the next plan probably won't be perfect, but I'm hopeful that this plan will be better. And we know that when you know better, that you do better. And as far as Forsyth County is concerned, I know that we are stronger when we work together, and we're going to do just that. So thank you for your presentation.
Do we have additional comments or questions from the commissioners?
Chairman Plyler, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Just a few quick comments, Commissioner Martin. The other thing is we have, per our plan of action, redeveloped all the training materials around B3 services, which are the services that we connect to folks in the IDD community when they don't have a slot on the innovations waiver. Those slots, again, are authorized by the legislature. That's one of the key legislative initiatives that we've got going on. We've also got a new initiative with Horizons around training direct support professionals or direct support workers, getting them up to the curve in terms of training, and also some rates. A couple other thoughts. Jessica talked a bit about the connection to our members. The connection to our members and our commitment extends beyond our members and goes into the community. Just down the street, the Highlands Avenue Center was developed and transferred to the county. Over 6,000 folks went through those doors in 2019 for things like exercise classes, financial training, yoga. There was even a bingo afternoon where Senator Craw was able to join. We also support a number of organizations in this community, like Moji Coffee, YWCA of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, Smart Start of Forsyth County, and Winston-Salem Urban League. Since the pandemic started, we've invested over $160,000 in organizations that work on food insecurity, housing insecurity, transportation, and across the 20 counties, we've invested over $120 million in COVID-related expenses. We lead or participate in over 20 groups up here, including juvenile justice groups, the Opioid Task Force, Triad Veterans Coalition, IDD Advisory Council. Our commitment is strong. Our team's commitment is strong. In fact, there's 100 folks here that work for Cardinal Innovations and are fighting for our members every day. But there's another 915 that are fighting every day for our members and executing on that plan of action I mentioned. The decision today affects our community and our members. Constituents like Pam. Pam is a wheel-bound young woman, quadriplegic, cerebral palsy. These stories are really hard to hear. These are the stories that our folks are working on right now and making these people's lives better. What we're talking about is disrupting that connection to these individuals that have taken years and years to develop. I've got pages of stories like this. And those stories represent thousands of members in this community. I'm doing this because I care, and we're doing good work as a team, and we will address the things that are brought to our attention, and we're doing exactly that. But right now, we're in a very, very high-risk environment for these folks in the IDD community, and that's what I'm talking about. These are the faces of disruption that this decision will bring today. In Forsyth County alone, it's 67,000 people that we work with. The vast majority of which we're doing a good job for. I understand that there's frustration in our foster care community. That's happening across the state. I've got a bibliography going back to 2007 of reports and studies that have been done how broken the system is. Letters back and forth between the department and all 7 LME MCOs about how broken the foster care system in the state is. We're doing what we can in our small corner of the world, but we need partnership. And we're doing that. We're making progress. The decision today is of huge magnitude, and the decision that you make today will affect people potentially negatively tomorrow. It's critical to hear their voices before this decision's made, and I know that there's this notion that we can just back the bus up, that this is only the first step in a very long process. But it will kick off a series of events. It is the pebble in the pond, and it will ripple. It's critical to hear their voices. I'm here because, like you, I care about the people that we serve and the people in this community. I'm here because the constituents and our members matter in this community. I'm just asking that you take a breath, pause, really reflect on the magnitude and gravity of what's before you today, and either pause it or vote no on disengagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. I appreciate your coming in from Charlotte. Jessica, thank you for your comments. Commissioners, as I see it, we have 2 options. Option number 1 would be to table this for an indefinite period until another date, or 2, vote for the resolution. Any further conversations, thoughts, questions?
Well, maybe, Mr. Chairman, I'll start, because I've had a lot of, I appreciate both of you being here, Trey and Jessica, thank you. And in fact, I've talked to Trey a number of times in the last year, and I'd say we just had our winter work session last week. And the year ago, anniversary of that, end of February, we actually brought up some of the serious issues. We spent almost an hour in a fairly short meeting that we have set aside for kind of an annual event, really talking about a number of the foster care issue services and problems. And that sort of kicked off a lot of discussion about the very issue about services from Cardinal, about responsiveness, about indicators, yes, about metrics, and about sort of success rates. And so it hasn't been exactly, I've been taking a lot of breaths in the last year over the issue of where we are with Cardinal. And I can tell you personally that I am interested in our citizens being served, period. I don't care who does it. It's not whether it's you or somebody, I want the best for them. And while I can't quite put into perspective that some of the problems we're having with placement with our foster care kids that need much higher levels of services. And we are tracking days without placements since November. And that's not getting any better. And the emergency room readmissions, Cardinal's the worst among the LME MCOs. And that has to do with relationships. It has to do with relationships for interim services while placements are awaiting. It has to do with networks. And I don't have any concrete evidence that partners would be any better. At least I have a little from the conversations that have taken place with others in their catchment area, at least the word has been fairly positive, although I realize a lot of their counties are not like us. And not sure about that, but I think part of it maybe, while I'm certainly not a person to be in favor of bureaucracy, I think the very disengagement process does allow a lot of opportunities for those stories, if you will, to be told. And I'm certainly willing to listen to them and all of them and meet with people and read their emails or you name it. And I'd certainly like to hear those successes. And I'd like to, but I also want to hear the failures. And I think there is if we take a breath, for example, I think we'll just be kicking the can further, and as I said earlier, taking a few breaths last year. So I'm prepared to make a motion that we begin this rolling on the disengagement process, and I'm willing to make that motion.
I second.
Who was the second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second to go, I hate to use the word, Mr. Attorney, disengagement. What would you say we should say?
The resolution, you have a resolution before you approving the disengagement plan from Cardinal Innovations Healthcare and authorizing the county manager to solicit public comments on such plan and to continue the process of disengaging from Cardinal Innovations and realigning with Partners Behavioral Health Management.
Okay. Let's do this by hand if that's all right, so I don't want to get it wrong. All in favor of the motion?
You may want to ask for some discussion, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let's have some discussion on it. Now, go right ahead. Anybody have any comments on this?
30 seconds, please, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I visited Horizons to see the patients and the quality of care at that facility, and to be in a population of people who can barely verbalize anything is very heart-wrenching. And we need to give them the best quality care that we can. We shouldn't jeopardize that population. But I've also worked, with DSS, and I've had some experiences that were very, very, to my opinion, cruel when a child has to wait so long to be classified as being qualified for services. And so I have no hesitation whatsoever to move this process forward and to take a vote to begin the process of disengagement.
Further comments?
Mr. Chairman, I did second the motion, and I have a great deal of respect for our staff. And I have to rely on the folks who actually do the work. And I have talked with our staff. I've spoken with people on both sides of the aisle. But I have to respect our staff and go on their recommendation, and that's why I did second the motion.
All right. Additional comments? Questions? All in favor, you can raise your right hand, please do so. All opposed? So the motion passes by a, 6 to 1 margin. And that's it. Mr. Sutton, thank you for coming up, appreciate it. Jessica, thank you very much.
And Mr. Chairman, just to clarify for the record, you were the one voting against it.
That's
Is that
exactly
correct?
right.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. County Manager.
Yes, sir. Agenda item 12 is a resolution authorizing the county manager to solicit offers for the county-owned real property located at 3554 Clemens Road, which is the current Clemens Library site. And this would, we'll have a 60-day period where that's left open.
Questions, comments?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming Elamine.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Don Martin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 13 has several parts. There are ordinances granting extensions of non-emergency ground ambulance franchises to New Care Carolina Ambulance Incorporated, Lifestar Emergency Services LLC, Forsyth Memorial Hospital doing business as Forsyth Medical Center, and the extension of the ground ambulance franchise to North Carolina Baptist Hospital, and finally an ordinance granting an extension of limited air ambulance franchise to Forsyth Memorial Hospital doing business as Forsyth Medical Center. And then ultimately there's item F is an ordinance granting an extension of limited air ambulance franchise to North Carolina Baptist Hospital.
Questions or comments?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Richard Linville.
Second.
second by Commissioner Tanya McDaniel,
No,
and
it's Gloria.
Gloria was not. Yeah, the masks kind of mask here. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Item 14 is a resolution acknowledging receipt of the tax collector's report of the total amount of unpaid 2020 taxes that are liens on real property in order to the tax collector to advertise such tax liens.
Questions, comments? Motion to approve by Commissioner Richard Linville,
Second.
second by Commissioner Tanya McDaniel and Don Martin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
That's it for the formal meeting, Mr.
All right, unless, do we have other comments before we adjourn? We're going to adjourn momentarily and be back in about 10 minutes for a conversation about next week's program. I call it program, that's my background, Ted, March 18th. In the meantime, Ted Kaplan has suggested we adjourn. I'll second the motion. We're adjourned.